So welcome my students. Today we are starting for the paper of virology, which is important paper in BSc microbiology course. So the first question here ultimately is why we study virology or why we are going for studying the virology. Just as I told you, it is one of the important branch of microbiology. And another important thing is that viruses are always associated with us. That means mainly viruses are acting as infectious particles and they are responsible for causing many diseases in the humans, animals as well as in the plants. You can see these pictures. All these pictures indicate the diseases caused by viruses. So these two pictures they indicate diseases caused in the human beings because of the viruses. That means most common examples are influenza and measles disease. These two pictures indicate the diseases caused by the viruses in the animals. The most common example is of foot and mouth disease in the animals. And also the viral diseases are occurring in the plants. That means we are always associated with the viruses and therefore the study of virology is very important. Not only that is the thing, but also viruses that are affecting the industrial fermentation processes. Many bacterial viruses are causing infection in the fermentation organisms and that results in the failure of the fermentation process. In addition to this, the viruses they are used as biopesticides. Now you know what are biopesticides. Biopesticides are the pesticides in which the biological agents are used to control the pests on the crops. Now, you know, the pests are responsible for causing damage of the crops and thereby there is loss of the farmers. And in order to control these pests on the crops, nowadays recommendation is of use of biopesticides. And as a biopesticides, there can be the use of some of the viruses. Another important thing with the viruses is that they can be used in the genetic engineering technology as a vectors. Vectors are nothing but the agents which are transferring the gene of interest to the host organisms, and therefore the viruses they can be used as the vectors. In addition to this, viruses are required to be cultivated for the vaccine production. So many viral diseases they can be controlled by the program of the vaccination. But in order to produce the viral vaccines, initially the viruses are required to be cultivated, and therefore their large scale cultivation it is carried out in the vaccine production plants. And when we want to cultivate the viruses, we should know all the aspects of the viruses, and therefore the study of virology is very important. So when we are going for the study of the virology, initially it is necessary to take the review of the history of the virology. Actually, the term virus is originated from Latin word. Its meaning is slimy fluid or poison, and it was used to describe any disease causing agent. Initially, scientist Ivanovsky in 1892 gave clear-cut evidences of viruses. He observed that leaf extract of tobacco plant is having ability to transmit tobacco mosaic disease from diseased plants to healthy plant or diseased leaves to healthy leaves. Later on, Byring in 1898 proposed that this disease is caused by Contagium vivum fluidum or contagious living fluid. He transferred leaf extract of the tobacco mosaic plants to bacteriological through the bacteriological filters and checked its ability to cause the infection, and he found that that fluid was having ability to cause the infection, and that fluid it was termed as contagious living fluid or contagium vivum fluidum. The second virus discovered was foot and mouth disease of farm and other animals. In 1898, it was discovered by German scientists Friedrich Laufer and Paul Frosch. So these are the those two scientists. The first human virus reported was the agent which causes yellow fever. It was discovered by US Army physician Walter Reed in 1901. Subsequently, in 1908, Wang and Ellerman in Denmark successfully used a cell-free filtrate from chickens with avian leukosis to transmit the disease to healthy chickens. Later on, first solid tumor causing virus or virus associated with cancer was found by scientist Peter Rouse in USA in 1911. He showed that chicken sarcomas or solid connective tissue tumors could be transmitted by a filtrable or cell-free agent extracted from the sarcoma cells. So you can see here in this picture, this is the chicken with sarcoma in the breast muscles. Scientists Rouse extracted, separated these sarcoma cells and break up into small chunks of the tissue, and they were then grinded, and it was passed through the filter. The filtrate was collected and it was inoculated into the healthy chickens, and the healthy chickens, they developed a sarcoma after the injection of that filtrate. And on the basis of this experiment, Rouse confirmed that the sarcoma can be transmitted from diseased chickens to healthy chickens. So this was the history concerned with the discovery or the relation between the uh, cancers and the viruses. This virus was named for him as Rous sarcoma virus. Later on, two independent investigations led to the discovery of viruses that infect bacteria. That means bacteriophages. In 1915, Frederick Todt in UK found a filtrable agent that caused the bacteria to lyse or burst. So this is the image of Frederick Todt. But he was not sure that whether it was a virus or not, and he referred to it as a bacteriological agent. Subsequently, De Herle in Paris in 1970 discovered a virus that lysed a bacterial agent. So this is the image of De Herle, who used the term the bacteriophages. He named this virus as a bacteriophage or bacteriophages, which are eater of the bacteria, and this was derived from Greek term phagin, and its meaning is to eat. Now we will discuss some general properties of the viruses. So, just as I told you, viruses are always obligatory intracellular parasites. They are That means they are growing only inside of the living cells or living hosts. They can be seen only under electron microscope. Their observation is not possible under simple or compound microscopes. There are three major types of the viruses, and those three major types are being made on the basis of their hosts, and those are animal viruses, plant viruses, and bacterial viruses. Now, one important thing with the viruses is that they are existing in two different states. Now, those two different states, they are called as the extracellular state and intracellular state. Extracellular state means the state in which viruses are present as the infectious particles, or those particles, they can be called as the virions. And the second state, that is intracellular state, and it is the state in which viruses are present in the form of their nucleic acids. That means viruses, when they infect to their host cells, only their genetic material is entering, and that genetic material is present in the state of the development of the viruses, and that state is called as the intracellular state of the viruses. The next important property of the viruses is that the viruses, they are consisting of a protein coat, and that protein coat is called as a capsid. And inside of this capsid there is presence of a genome. That means capsid is enclosing a genome of the virus particle, and that genome can be present either in the form of RNA or it can be present in the form of the DNA. And this whole structure of the virus is, it is called as the nucleocapsid. The capsid may be polyhedral in shape or helical in shape, or it is can be a combination of both these shapes. Now we proceed for discussing general characteristics of the viruses. The first important characteristics is about the size of the viruses. There is considerable range in the size of the viruses. That means most viruses, they fall in the size range in between 10 to 300 nanometer. The smallest viruses are little larger than ribosome, and largest viruses are equal to the size of the smallest bacteria. Now you can see this picture with respect to the scale or the size of the viruses. Viruses, they are smaller than the size of the bacteria. So the size of the bacteria, it can be measured in micrometers, but the size of the viruses, it is measured in the nanometers. And the cell molecules, they are again smaller than the size of the virus particles. So here in this picture, the size of the different particles or different microscopic particles, it is given. So the size of animal cells is higher than the size of the bacteria, and the size of the plant cells again is more than the size of the animal cells. Next important character with respect to the viruses is about its structure. Viruses, they are said to be structurally very simple. That means they have very simple structure. Now, why viruses are said to be very structurally very simple? Because they contain the only genetic material either in the form of DNA or RNA, and that genetic material, it is surrounded by a protein, and the whole structure, it is called as a nucleoprotein. That means in short we can say that only in the viruses only there is presence of two important structural components. One is genetic material, that is either DNA or RNA, and that genetic material, it is surrounded by a protein, and the whole structure, it is called as a nucleoprotein. So you can see this is the simplest structure of the virus, and this whole structure, it is called as a nucleoprotein or nucleoprotein particle or nucleocapsid. And here inside of this is the outer structure is of the capsid, and the inside of this capsid there is presence of a nucleic acid, either DNA or RNA. Some viruses are little bit complex. That means they contain some additional components, and those components, they can be lipid and carbohydrates in addition to the proteins and nucleic acids. Now generally these viruses, they are enveloped viruses. Now envelope means the nucleoprotein or nucleocapsid, it is surrounded by one more additional membrane, and that membrane is generally derived from the host cell, and such host cell derived membrane, it is called as the envelope, and within this envelope the components, that is lipids and carbohydrates, are present, and because of which the viruses, they become structurally little bit complex. Next important property of the viruses is absence of cellular structures. Now, which cellular structures are absent in the viruses? They do not contain cytoplasm. They do not contain cytoplasmic organelles like mitochondria, Golgi complex, lysosomes, ribosomes. All these components, that means the cytoplasm or cytoplasmic organelles like mitochondria, Golgi complex, lysosomes, ribosomes, they are present in the eukaryotic or prokaryotic cells, but such things, they are totally absent in the viral particles. Viruses, they utilize the ribosomes of the host cell for protein synthesis during their replication or reproduction. That means for the purpose of protein synthesis Viruses, they are totally dependent on their host. They utilize the protein synthetic machinery of their host cells. One more important property of the viruses is that they don't have their own metabolism. That means they have no independent metabolism. Viruses cannot multiply outside the living cell. They do not have an independent metabolism. They are metabolically inactive outside the host cell because they do not possess enzyme system and protein synthesis machinery. Next important property is about the nucleic acids. Viruses, they contain only one type of nucleic acid, either DNA or RNA. Now you know in prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, at a time there is presence of both the nucleic acids, but that thing is not with the viruses. Viruses at a time contain either DNA or RNA as a genetic material or nucleic acid. The next important property of viruses is their crystallization. Many smaller viruses, they can be crystallized, and therefore viruses, they behave like the chemicals. Next important property of viruses is no growth and division. Viruses, they don't have the power of growth and division. So a fully formed virus does not increase in size by addition of new molecules. That means viruses, they do not divide at their own level. So if we compare this property with the bacteria or other living cells, during the growth of bacteria or other living cells, there may be increase in the size of the cell, or ultimate result is cell division. But that thing is not occurring in the viruses. During the multiplication of the viruses, there is no increase in the size of the virus, or there is no division of the virus particles. Only its genetic material, that is either DNA or RNA, is capable of reproduction, and that also occurs within the host cell, and at the end there is the release of large number of virus particles at a time after completion of the multiplication cycle. So this is about introduction to the virology and general properties of the viruses. Thank you very much for kind listening.